Hi everybody, Jamie Zachary here again from Solex Thermal Science. Today I've brought with me my good friend Albert Bedell. He is the Regional Director for Asia Pacific at Solex, and we're here to talk about dust because it's a question that we get on whether our units actually generate dust.
Yeah, this is a question that we hear quite frequently, and it's a really good question. The short answer is that Solex units actually don't generate dust in themselves, but that's not really the whole story.
Yeah. So as part of that story, do Solex units then need a dust collection system?
So in fact, if you go out into the field, you'll find that most Solex units are connected to a dust collection system in the plant. Most. It really depends on the bulk solid being handled, the plant operating environment, the process that we're doing. There's a lot of different factors at play here.
All right. So if I dial it back a little bit further, where is this dust coming from in the first place?
So bulk solids frequently will have some dust or fines inherently within the particles. And when you're using a Solex heat exchanger, especially when you're dealing with water-soluble products or a drying process, we're going to need to move some air through that bed of product. And as the air moves through that bed of product, it can actually liberate those fines that are already in the bulk solid. So say for instance with the fertilizer granule, it's a relatively clean granule, but it is friable. It's going to be generating some dust as it moves through conveying equipment and things like that, and we need to pass air through it. So some of that dust is going to get liberated and carried out. You have other products like fly ash, which are literally just dust. So no matter what we do with this, there's going to be some dust available to go up the pipe. And you have other products still like polymer pellets, which are clean, they're tough, they're non-water soluble, so we don't need to have air, and there's not really any source of dust there for us to be worried about collecting.
All right. So are there different options for dust collection then?
Yeah, luckily, when we are in situations where we need a dust collection system, there's quite a few options available. The most typical one is simply to connect to the existing plant infrastructure. They'll have a big central dust collection system, and we can connect the Solex unit to that with a relatively low additional load on the existing dust collection system. In the event that you have, there's either not an existing dust collection system in the plant, or if the Solex unit's located far away, and it doesn't make sense from an infrastructure perspective to pipe it in, we can go to a simple unit that just mounts right on top of the Solex unit. It'd be about the same size as this dust collector here. We can go to a more extensive standalone system with separate fans, cyclones, clean out systems, things like that. Or we can end up with something as simple as a small filter in the inlet hopper that just catches any dust which might be coming out of the inlet vent.
Awesome. Now, is there a situation where a dust collection system is not required?
Yeah, so again, most systems are going to need that dust collection system. However, if you have a few factors working in your favor, you got a non-water soluble product, there's not a lot of fines in it to begin with, and that product is relatively tough. It's not friable. So plastic pellets are a great example of that. Sand is a great example of that. Some carbon materials also fit the bill there. Chances are you're not going to need a dust collection system. How we feed into the unit, how it's tied into the upstream process also has an impact on that. So if our unit could be choke fed, so that product isn't falling into the inlet hopper and having a little bit of energy when it lands there, it even further reduces the chance of dust being liberated. So in opportunities like that, we might have not even an inlet filter. It might just be an open inlet port for the vent. It might be no dust collection required at all. But again, chances are we're going to need to have some dust collection system.
Awesome. So we talked about a couple things. Now, for people at home, if you were looking to summarize what we've just chatted about, when asked that question about dust, how would you present that to them?
I think there's a couple of key takeaways to keep in mind. First and foremost is that the Solex unit itself is not generating dust. However, if there is dust in the product, we're probably going to have to deal with it. The second item there is that when there is dust in the product, we do have a lot of different options available, and it's about working with the customer to find what is the most cost-effective, the most technically sound way to handle that dust. The third key takeaway, I think, is that there are opportunities or processes when we aren't going to need that dust collection system. So if we can work with the customer and find a way to choke feed into our unit, if they're handling a material that's not water soluble and there's not a lot of fines in their material already, chances are we can get away with no dust collection system at all.
Perfect. And of course, if there's any questions, feel free to contact your Solex representative.